The first show of the week is At the Hill, which is a show dedicated to USD 394. Throughout the year, hosts of At the Hill have spoken to a variety of guests, including new superintendent Mr. Lambert, assistant principal Mr. Jackson, and all of the candidates for last November's school board election. Hosts of At the Hill include Kimberlyn Lovell, Emma Hayes, Brinley Fouts, Alexa Marshall, Addison Scanlon, Serenity Condell, Danielle McPherson, and Tegan Hobson.
I'd say that I like At the Hill more. I love the podcast and just talking. It's like having a regular conversation. I'd say it's less distracting, you could say. So, yeah.
Okay, so during the show, we kind of just split it up. Like, we go, the person who's the host asks the first question, and then we kind of just go in a line and we rotate through, and that's how we split up all the questions.
At semester, Rocket Productions added Rocket Real Talk to its podcast lineup. Brooke Forrid, Natalie Hernandez, and Reese Gunderson talked to students at the high school about a variety of topics, including what it's like being a student at Rose Hill. The three hosts often try to talk to students in every grade.
Before the show, to pick out who we're having, we usually think about who's really good at having conversations, someone really fun, to make a good show, and we usually base the questions on stuff they like doing, or then we'll just do random questions about their life in and outside of school. Brooke always intros the show, and then I always do the outro, and then as for questions, we kind of just go in order, because we have them written down, and we kind of just go in order, who's asking what question, and then as we're going, we'll just randomly pop in more questions.
For the past 3 years, Hayden Swope has hosted the Rocket Coaches Corner, where she interviews every head coach in the school. It is an insightful show that allows fans to hear what is going on in each athletic program. Hayden also hosts the Oh Hey podcast, which gives her the creativity and control to interview teachers, parents, and students. Hayden will be going to KU next year, and hosting these podcasts has given her valuable experience for her future career.
So we started the Coaches Corner. Actually, Kobe Campbell had done the show a few years before me. And then my sophomore year, it was in November, I interviewed basketball coach Josh Shirley for the first time. And so he was my first ever coach that I interviewed. And then it's all been up from there. So we kind of started the Coaches Corner to get the coaches on and talk about their season and their athletes and how their year has gone. And it's been history ever since. I think I've gotten better. I hope I've gotten better since my sophomore year. It was definitely a big change. I'd never done anything scary. It felt so scary. But now that we've kind of transferred into podcasts, it's a lot easier. It's a lot more fun. The coaches are way more laid back, and it's easier to have a fun conversation about their season, their athletes, and everything they have going on.
Thursday is a busy day as we have 2 productions going up at once. The Rocket Sports Podcast is hosted by Trent Chicadons and Connor Jackson, and they feature some of the best athletes at Rose Hill High School.
So to start off the show, me and Connor Jackson decide what questions we're going to ask and what hot topics are at that moment, like state championships and all those good questions. Okay. Well, it's like, to make it just a conversation, it's just, you have to be just comfortable with them. You can't just be directional and just ask them a straight up question and then just go to the next one. You also have to bring up other stuff in that conversation. And then for me and Connor Jackson, we sometimes will like get into arguments and stuff about questions because our show can be repetitive. So we're trying to make up new questions and see if we can find any better topics to talk about.
On the same day, the Players Lounge is also recorded, which is inspired by a segment of ESPN's college basketball broadcast called 94 Feet with Jay Billis.
So I like doing the Players Lounge because it lets me connect with athletes on a little bit of a deeper level than just talking or having a formal interview with them. And I get to see a different look at the sport that they enjoy playing.
The final show of the week is On the Clock, which is a sports podcast show inspired podcast. Dawson McNall, Scotty Carr, and Jay Speary came up with the idea 2 years ago and have been hosting it ever since. From the Chiefs winning back-to-back Super Bowls to Kansas State winning the Big 12 in college football last year, the On the Clock fellows have had plenty to talk over the past 2 years.
So our show kind of got started when Hayden approached Scotty and I. She told us that Mr. Browning had said that we needed another sports show, and so we joined the class and we worked on what was at the time Wake Up Rose Hill, and we did stories for them. And then after a semester of kind of putting in a little bit of work and learning what goes into making a show, then we when at the start of our junior year we started making On the Clock, and then Jace joined the class, and then he came on the show, and then Bilby was in the class and he was on it last year, and now KJ, Cole, and Elijah took his spot. So to prepare, we really just kind of look at what's happening in sports right now, more local. We're obviously going to talk about the Chiefs a lot, kind of talk about the Thunder a little bit because they're kind of the more local basketball team. We'll always talk about K-State, KU, but kind of look at big stories in the current news and just kind of give our opinions and our takes on them. So that's really our preparation. We kind of just have a list of topics we want to talk about and just kind of let it go from there. Today we talked about Wichita State for no reason at all. That wasn't on our list, but we got there, so we talked about them. That's kind of